Happy Sunday, COVID connectors. I know you all probably thinking about Monday already, and some of you might be dreading it. Some of you might be excited by it because maybe it's your first day back at work. You know, we're all going through such different things. One of the things that you might be going through is maybe tomorrow is one of the last days that you are going to be spending in the job that you've held for the past year or many years. And that really was our topic today on COVID Connect, although it wasn't planned. We ended up having a long discussion around retrenchments with our fabulous guest speakers, Dean and Brian. And today we made a video because we really wanted to share with you some of the amazing insights that came out from our guest speaker, Dean, which just inspired me on a different level. I mean, I'm not easily inspired by things that I read or that I see, but I really was truly inspired by what Dean has said, because I've never heard anyone say this during the entire period of lockdown. I've heard side hustle, I've heard start your own business, I've heard change companies, or don't seek a promotion right now, just stay under the radar. I've heard all of those words, but I've never heard what Dean said to me today. And we were talking about retrenchments, and we were really talking about the emotions and that people are going through and how they deal with it, how they process it. And I really wanted to get deep inside the period in which you actually do not have a job, and what is going through your mind, and how can people mentally prepare themselves for what could come or what has already come. One of the things we spoke about was, when you lose your job and you've got the news telling you every single day, South Africa is losing another 200,000 jobs and another 300,000. And all you're hearing is that the unemployment rate is going to get to a crazy number, that it's so off-putting to the point that people who are getting retrenched have already given up because of everything they've heard on the news. They've heard there are no jobs. So people are not even applying for jobs because they think there aren't jobs out there. So we got into this really deep conversation about that, and just the fact that the media is already putting you down and swaying you away from the fact that you should keep trying because, you're hearing all of this bad news. And the reality is, I was talking to them because they have just emigrated to Canada. They didn't have jobs when they got there. Most people think that when people immigrate, they actually have a job that's secured. Often that's not the case. You've got to land in the country and you've got to literally apply until you find a job. And they struggled for a long time before they actually found their jobs. And I wanted to understand what was going through their mind. Were they depressed? What was going on? And the first thing that the first person said in the conversation, which was Brian, was that he never once thought, I'm not gonna find a job. He just kept applying, and he went through several interviews, close to 20 interviews, and he got a job. And I asked him, I said, but did you ever get to a point where you thought, if I don't get a job, what is my plan B? And he said, Rox, I never had a plan B. And I was quite surprised to hear that, because for me, it's like I'm extremely structured and I'm extremely planned. And it taught me a great lesson in that, why always plan for the worst? Sometimes just keep going at what you're aiming for, what you're striving for. And for him, that was to find a job, and he never took his mind off that. So that's the first thing, guys, is as much as there's so much bad news around employment right now, keep applying, update your CV. Retrenchments is going to become something as common as the virus. And if you're afraid to say you've retrenched, and if you're afraid to say, I'm going to be retrenched, it is the new normal. Everyone keeps talking about this new normal. Guys, this is the new normal. And it's not something any of you should feel embarrassed about. It doesn't make you less. It doesn't make you less worth than you feel you are. You are still 100% a valuable asset. And that's what Dean taught me today. And the one thing that he taught me, which I've never heard a single person in this entire lockdown, of all the clever people that are out there in the world, they've spoken about the virus, the impact on the economy. They've spoken about the impact on people's health, on their mental state. They've spoken about side hustles. They've spoken about everything, but I've never heard anyone share the insight that Dean shared today, which is, if you considered, a lot of people are thinking, where do I invest money? What's the safest place? All the markets are crashing. And Dean says, well, there's one place that's the safest place to invest in, because you have complete and utter control over this particular investment. And I thought, like, what could he be talking about? Is he talking about a tax-free saving? Is he talking about your bond? What could he possibly be talking about that you are so in control of this wonderful investment? And what Dean said was that investment is you. And what everyone is forgetting to do over this period, people are not translating the things like free online courses into the language that Dean communicated today, which is invest in yourself. These online courses, these whether it's psychological support, whatever it is that is out there on the internet is free, to what Dean's point is, and it's there, it's available. You might not get a certificate, but it is you investing in yourself and you becoming more knowledgeable. You can learn how to code. What Dean was saying to me is that you can learn how to code for free on the internet right now. And he says, like, the best investment you can make right now is invest everything in yourself. Instead of spending that hour on TikTok, spend an hour investing in yourself to become better, to learn a new skill, to have a different perspective. And he was talking about the fact that he was hiring a few people and how he's hiring for mindset, how he's hiring for people with a great attitude. So you don't need a Harvard business degree to get a job. You just need to have the right attitude, and you need to say you at least have some experience. And what he's saying is that experience is so valuable, and people tend to forget that in a time of retrenchment, that your experience is so valuable. And I really wanted to share this message with you because it made me think about it. He asked me a question. He said, Roxy, if you considered yourself an investment, I asked you today, how much would you charge me an hour if I had to buy your time? And I'd never thought about that question. And I said, like, Dean, I'm not really sure. And I said, well, maybe $4.50 an hour. And he said, well, actually, you're spot on. That's probably around the average rate right now that people would pay. But I never thought about that. And he said, okay, for every hour that you spend on Facebook, that's 450 Rand of your time that you could have given to somebody as a sale. And that investment is in you, It's absolutely everything is you. So I can't stress this enough, and I would never be able to portray the message as wonderfully as Dean portrayed it, but I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was so powerful. Guys, yes, there's so much social media, there's so many funny videos out there that we can all watch, there's so much news out there that we can all watch, but there's so many hours that are passing that we aren't investing in ourselves to make ourselves become dynamic. Dean was saying there's a story about a guy who was a baker that realized in the pandemic that it wasn't good enough to be a baker. So he actually learned how to cook hot meals and he taught himself a different skill, but he invested in himself. And I want you to think about this. Are you investing in yourself? And it's so critical because when you come out of this, you might not even be doing anything close to what you were doing before COVID-19. You might have been a marketer and tomorrow you're going to be a plumber. That's a reality, and we all need to face that reality. And that's one of the conversations that Dean and I had was, stop restricting yourself to applying for jobs that is based on your previous title. Start breaking down, what did your job entail? So if you were in marketing, how much of your job was dedicated to project management? And go and apply for project management jobs. Stop limiting yourself. And so really spend time, guys, going and looking at what your experience is and being able to talk about that, because a skill learned is something you can talk about and something no one can take away from you. Don't let your title or your previous title hold you back, number one. And number two, don't feel like you can't learn something new, that you can become something different in this new world. We are all in all likelihood gonna become something different, and the sooner we realize that, the better for all of us. So I really want to encourage you. I'm so inspired. I feel like tomorrow I know I'm going to wake up, and I know that when I sit between 8 and 10 at night, where I potentially was maybe just sitting on my social media, although we do spend a lot of time on COVID Connect, even in that hour where I was just taking for myself on social media, I'm actually not going to do that anymore, because what am I actually gaining from it? What are you gaining from social media, which you could be gaining from an online course, which you could be gaining from a YouTube video that was educational? And I really want you to ask yourself that question. What are you gaining from spending time on social media, on TikTok? And yes, there's good social media. I'm not going to say there isn't good social media, because there is really a ton of good stuff. But are you spending time on the good social media? And is it growing you? Is it growing your skills? And have that hard conversation with yourselves, guys. Because what Dean said today really, really made an impact on me. And that is, if you are not investing in yourself, you are not investing in the one thing you have full control over, the one thing that you are the CEO of, and that is your own self. The most valuable resource that exists in your hands today is yourself. And are you investing in yourself? I want you all to go into this week thinking about that and really having a tough conversation with yourself. I know it was quite a difficult topic today, but I hope that it inspired you in some way. Definitely did. And I'm going to try get Dean on again as a speaker, because he really did justice to this topic. But in the meantime, Dean, I really hope I got some of your message across to the audience. Have a fabulous evening and go think about it this week. Are you investing in yourself? See you all tomorrow live on COVID Connect. We'll be talking all things fun, excitement, and definitely what's needed with Prashani and myself. And to close off, we want to wish our little junior talk show host, Joshua, happy birthday from COVID Connect. He often comes on and joins us as our junior anchor. And we want to wish him a beautiful birthday, little Josh. We hope you had an amazing day. Thank you all, and we will catch you live tomorrow.